prior to after, obviously. But now that I understand how difficult he is to deal with, there's no one else like him. You can't prepare for him, even at
his age,
even at an elder version of him.
And shit, it was pretty cool to see. And honestly, even with the majority draw, it's a win for Manny, because damn, if he can do that off a 3-year layoff at 46, that's pretty telling, for one, where the sport of boxing is when your world champ can't beat 46-year-old politician Manny Pacquiao.
Yes, Manny, you can't come out of retirement because this guy is so bad. Like, that fired him up a little bit, and then he goes in the ring and he does nothing. He goes in the ring and, like, I thought it was an embarrassing performance from a 30-year-old champion.
Manny Pacquiao's shocking return to the ring has flipped the boxing world on its head. At 46 years old, 3 years removed from the sport, most expected to see a faded legend simply trying to relive past glory. Instead, what fans witnessed against Mario Barrios was something entirely different, a living, breathing reminder of why Pacquiao is a generational fighter. Even in a majority draw, Pacquiao came out looking like the real winner. His speed.
What do you think about the overall matchup?
Everything, man. I watched him train like last week or the week before, and amazing to see him still move and bounce and do all the same things that he was doing in camp years ago when I was with him. So he's still locked in. He's still him, Crazy, but he is. You know what they say, man. The last thing to go is that power.
Footwork and intensity were still intact. He darted in and out, cut sharp angles, and unleashed flurries that kept the younger Barrios reacting rather than dictating. For every jab Barrios threw, Pacquiao answered with 3 quick punches. At times, his combinations were enough to make the crowd erupt like it was 2009 all over again. Sean Porter, who saw Pacquiao up close in training, was stunned. He admitted Pacquiao still moves like the same fighter he was years ago. Chris Algieri, a man who once shared the ring with Manny, called him one of the hardest opponents to prepare for, describing him as unpredictable, explosive, and relentless. Even at 46, Algieri believes Pacquiao remains a nightmare for any fighter.
Prior to after, obviously. But now that I understand how difficult he is to deal with, there's no one else like him. You can't prepare for him, even at
his age,
even at an elder version of him.
Across from him. Of course, not everyone was convinced. Some critics pointed out that while Pacquiao's punches were fast, not all of them carried the same power they once did. They argued that many were flashy flurries designed to steal rounds rather than inflict real damage. Yet even with that critique, the reality is clear. Pacquiao was pushing the pace, while Barrios looked hesitant, passive, and at times stuck in neutral. The fight also reignited talk of a possible rematch with Floyd Mayweather. Social media star Salt Papi boldly declared that if Manny and Floyd fought today, the outcome would be completely different from 2015. Unlike Floyd, who has spent years in low-risk exhibitions, Manny just went 12 rounds with an
I think Manny's always been good at that. And my son really pointed it out perfectly. He was still good at it. He was still good at it. I think he was stealing some rounds at the end. Whether he deserved them or he didn't deserve them, whatever. They were close rounds. He might have stole them on the judges' cards. What we shouldn't forget is he's a special guy. And he put a special performance. I never saw calves on the legs of somebody that big. I mean, it's incredible. I thought early on he stumbled a little bit. I thought his legs were stumbling a little bit, like you might see in a 46-year-old, a little bit. But at the end, they got the act together. He used them pretty good. He used them pretty damn good. What I think he also did was maybe a little bit of, I think the word illusion is too powerful, but I'd say a little misleading, where he threw those real fast punches like my son said. They weren't quality punches like they used to be, where there was real impact and real power at the end of them. They were more like just quick punches, and they weren't all being impactful. They weren't all landing clean. Some did, but they weren't all landing clean, and they definitely weren't landing with real power. They really weren't.
Active world champion and looked sharp. To Salt Papi, Manny's hunger and activity would now overwhelm Floyd's aging reflexes. But speculation about Pacquiao's next fight doesn't end there. Rising names like Gervonta Tank Davis are constantly thrown into the mix, though promotional issues make that matchup unlikely. More realistic, however, is a clash with WBA champion Rolando "Rolly" Romero. Already in camp, Romero has expressed interest in testing himself against a legend. For him, a victory over Pacquiao would cement his resume. For Manny, it's another chance to prove that age is just a number. Of course, there's another side to this story. The critics who insist.
Have you spoken to Manny recently? I know you're friends with him.
No, I haven't spoken to him, no.
What would you want to see him do next?
Fight Floyd Mayweather or Gervonta Tank.
You think he beats Tank, near prime Tank Davis?
We'll see. Styles make fights, so we just don't know.
What about Mayweather versus Pacquiao too?
Yeah, that'll be a good fight. Yeah, Manny is still active. So.
Okay.
Manny's comeback is motivated by financial troubles. They argue that number 46-year-old willingly risks their health unless money is the driving factor. Pacquiao, however, rejects that idea. Throughout his career, he's given away millions to help the poor, funded hospitals, and supported disaster relief in the Philippines. For him, boxing has always been bigger than money. He insists his return is about passion, legacy, and showing the world that greatness doesn't fade. And the truth is, the crowd believed him. Every time he surged forward with a burst of combinations, the arena shook with nostalgia and energy. Pacquiao fought with conviction.
That's not what happened. Barrios was so tentative in this fight. He was essentially standing there for some of the exchanges. Manny Pacquiao came out and did what Manny Pacquiao does. By the way, credit to Manny. At 46, he still had some feet. He was moving, dancing on Mario Barrios. He was throwing combination punches going forward on Mario Barrios. And when he wasn't doing that, he was countering Mario Barrios, who looked like a stick in the mud. He looked like he couldn't even get out of first gear because Manny was hitting with combinations. Were they hurting super bad? Maybe not. Some of them definitely were. Had a mouse under the eye of Mario Barrios, but others were just flurries, and they were keeping Barrios at bay. And when Barrios was throwing one, Pacquiao was throwing three. When Barrios would throw out his jab, Manny would counter with his lead right hand, stepping on the inside plane, doing all the old Manny shit. It was pretty cool to see. And honestly, even with the majority draw, it's a win for Manny, because damn, if he can do that off a 3-year layoff at 46, that's pretty telling, for one, where the sport of boxing is when your world champ can't beat 46-year-old politician Manny Pacquiao, but two, just how great he was. 8 division world champion, started his career at 106, I think, comes up to 147. What are we talking about?
Conviction, with belief, with purpose. He didn't look like a man clinging to old glories. He looked like a fighter with unfinished business. Whether or not you believe Manny was robbed against Barrios, one thing is undeniable: he proved he still belongs on the big stage. Some analysts scored it for Barrios, others for Pacquiao, but nearly all agreed the fight was closer than expected. For a man in his late 40s to step back into the ring after years away and push a world champion to the limit is extraordinary. Now, boxing fans are left asking the big question: what comes next? A money-spinning rematch with
Manny Pacquiao crazy for coming back and fighting is because they don't understand what's going on in Manny Pacquiao's life. When a fighter is 46 years old, he doesn't just come back to fight a top fighter because he just wants to fight a top fighter. When he's going through that, that's what's brought him to that place in the first place. And that is having what we call bandwidth extension. He's totally scattered his brain and lost so much money over the course of time. And the same thing that happens when you get a paycheck and you start spending, and because you get shiny object syndrome, you want to get the new watch, you want to get the new gear, you want to eat at the restaurant, you want to go spend money. That shiny object syndrome, and you can't get it under control the same way that Manny Pacquiao did. He couldn't get things under control. So therein lies the situation where all of that money that he's made, hundreds of millions of dollars, just burnt. And now you got to fight. But if you really stop focusing on the symptom and start concentrating on the root of this thing, and the root of this thing is bandwidth, shiny object syndrome, trying to be so relevant in so many different scenarios. You want to train, you want to run this other business, you want to do this, you got this great idea. And it all boils down to the term that I use all the time, and that's compensatory control, laser focus. Get one idea, follow through with that idea. You got to have a plan in order to do it. And that's how you get to from here to here. That's when you're 46, you don't have to fight anymore. And that is my message today. Just understand why you're scattered. Understand why you can't get anything going all the way through. You can never finish that thought process and execute the plan, and therefore you continue to find yourself in a situation where you're desperate. You're trying to find a way to get back to where you were, which is even. But if you stay locked in and concentrate on the compensatory control factor of your life, which is doing everything that you think of every single day the exact same way, and I take 1 minute and go to that playlist.
With Mayweather, a dangerous clash with Romero, or one last run to prove he can still compete with the elite? Whatever the answer, Manny Pacquiao's comeback has already done what few thought possible. He's made the world believe in him again. One thing is certain, when Manny Pacquiao steps into the ring, the story is never over. And at 46, he just reminded everyone why his name will echo in boxing forever. Please like and subscribe my YouTube channel.